Have you ever wondered what it would be like to live fully in the present without being carried away by the worries of the past or the future? Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, teaches us that true freedom comes from accepting what we cannot control. Imagine for a moment the strength we would have in our lives if we could focus solely on what truly matters, the now. Stoicism offers us a powerful key to unlock this inner strength. In this video, we will explore how this ancient philosophy can help us live the present in a more authentic and meaningful way. Stoicism is a practice that invites us to reflect on our relationship with time and the circumstances that surround us. In a world filled with distractions and anxieties, Stoic wisdom becomes a beacon, illuminating the path to a more serene and balanced life. By learning to discern between what we can and cannot control, we are able to cultivate an inner peace that allows us to face daily challenges with courage and clarity. In this video, you will discover how Epictetus's philosophy can be applied to your everyday life. We will talk about the importance of focusing on the present and how this practice can transform your perception of the world. You will understand that the power to change your reality is in your hands, and that by adopting a Stoic mindset, it is possible to find comfort and stability even in times of uncertainty. You will also learn about the importance of resilience and acceptance. By accepting things as they are, without being dominated by frustration or anger, you become stronger and more capable of dealing with what life presents you. Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies not in avoiding pain, but in learning to face it with dignity and determination. Through stories and Stoic principles, we will discover together how small changes in the way we think and act can have a profound impact on our quality of life. By the end of this video, you will be better prepared to truly live in the present, free from the chains of anxiety and regret. Prepare to dive into a world where serenity, rationality, and resilience become your allies. Stoicism is not just a philosophy. It is a lifestyle that can guide you toward a brighter and fuller future. Let's embark on this journey of self-discovery and transformation together. Stoicism, a philosophical school that emerged in ancient Greece, has its roots in Athens in the 3rd century BC. Founded by Zeno of Citium, this philosophy sought to offer a path to a virtuous life and happiness, emphasizing reason as the main tool for dealing with life's adversities. Over the centuries, prominent figures such as Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius have stood out, each contributing uniquely to the evolution of Stoic thought. Seneca, a Roman statesman and playwright, explored morality and ethics in his letters and essays, addressing the importance of wisdom and reflection in times of crisis. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, taught that true freedom comes from accepting what is beyond our control, emphasizing the importance of our attitude toward circumstances. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote his meditations as a personal guide to facing the challenges of power and life, reflecting on impermanence and the need to live in accordance with nature. In the modern context, Stoicism has gained new life and relevance, especially in a world full of uncertainties and challenges. With the advancement of technology and globalization, we are bombarded daily with information, social pressures, and crises that can leave us anxious and insecure. Everyday insecurities, such as economic instability, political tensions, and mental health issues, prompt many to seek answers in philosophies that promote self-knowledge and resilience. Stoicism, with its emphasis on self-discipline and acceptance, presents itself as a powerful tool for those who wish to find a deeper meaning in life, regardless of external circumstances. One of the central principles of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, which teaches us to distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot. This distinction is fundamental to Stoic practice and can be applied in everyday situations. For example, when facing a stressful situation at work, such as a tight deadline or a conflict with a colleague, it is easy to become consumed by anxiety and frustration. However, by applying the dichotomy of control, we can ask ourselves, what is under my control here? We can control our response to the situation, our attitude, and the effort we put into our work. On the other hand, we cannot control the actions of others or the outcomes that are beyond our influence. This understanding allows us to release tension regarding what we cannot change and focus on what truly matters, our choices and actions. Moreover, Stoicism encourages us to live in the present, a practice that has become increasingly necessary in our current society. The tendency to excessively worry about the future or cling to the past can prevent us from enjoying the present moment. Epictetus once said that we should not let external events disturb us, but rather focus on how we respond to them. This idea is extremely relevant today, as many struggle with anxiety and depression. By anchoring ourselves in the present, we can find a space of inner peace, regardless of the storms that may be occurring around us. Reflecting on life through the lens of Stoicism offers us a new perspective. When we face difficulties, instead of allowing ourselves to be discouraged, we can use these experiences for our personal growth. For example, a financial setback can be seen not as a failure, but as an opportunity to learn to be more prudent and responsible. This shift in mindset is one of the most valuable legacies that Stoic philosophers have left us. They teach us that instead of lamenting what we cannot control, we should focus on how we can respond constructively. The relevance of Stoicism also extends to the realm of personal relationships. In times of polarization and social divisions, Stoic principles can guide us to maintain calm and empathy. Instead of reacting with anger or disdain in the face of opposing opinions, we can remember the importance of understanding and acceptance. Stoic philosophy invites us to look beyond our immediate emotions and cultivate a sense of compassion and respect for others, regardless of differences. This does not mean we should abdicate our beliefs, but rather that we should approach them with an open and balanced mind. The practice of Stoicism also teaches us the importance of gratitude. In a world that often tells us to seek more and better, Stoicism reminds us to value what we already have. Epictetus emphasized that true wealth comes from satisfaction with what we already possess. By cultivating gratitude, we not only improve our emotional well-being but also change our perspective on life. This allows us to appreciate the little things and find joy even in the most challenging circumstances. In summary, Stoicism offers a practical and effective approach to dealing with the difficulties of contemporary life. The teachings of Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius continue to resonate strongly, providing us with tools to face uncertainty, maintain serenity, and live more consciously. By applying principles such as the dichotomy of control and the practice of gratitude, we can find new clarity amid chaos. Stoicism invites us to embrace the present, accept what we cannot change, and act virtuously, transforming our lives and the way we relate to the world around us. This timeless philosophy is not just a practice of reflection, but a guide for living with purpose and equanimity, even in challenging times. Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to live fully and consciously, offers us a valuable path to appreciate the present. One of the philosophers who contributed most to this reflection was Epictetus, who left us profound teachings about the importance of virtue and wisdom. When we talk about virtue, we refer to a set of qualities that allow us to act ethically and justly. Wisdom, in turn, helps us discern what is truly important in our lives, guiding our decisions and actions. To understand the relevance of this concept in our daily lives, let's consider, for example, the stressful situations we encounter at work. Imagine a moment when you are confronted aggressively by a colleague or receive unexpected criticism. The common reaction may be anger or frustration, leading to a cycle of conflicts that only worsens the situation. However, by cultivating virtue, you can choose to respond with calmness and understanding, seeking to understand the other person's perspective instead of being carried away by emotion. This choice not only improves the dynamics in the workplace, but also strengthens your character and resilience. In situations of personal conflicts, the application of Stoic wisdom becomes equally crucial. Instead of focusing on the problem itself, a Stoic invites us to reflect on what we can learn from the situation. Asking ourselves, "What can this experience teach me?" can completely change our approach. This not only helps us face adversity with a more positive mindset, but also allows us to grow as individuals. Therefore, virtue and wisdom are not just abstract concepts, but practical tools that help us navigate life's challenges. Stoic philosophers like Epictetus deeply valued virtue. For them, living according to virtue was synonymous with living according to reason and nature. They believed that true happiness comes from within, and that what really matters are our attitudes and reactions to circumstances. Thus, by cultivating virtue and wisdom, we not only improve our lives but also contribute to the well-being of those around us. When we reflect on these ideas, we realize that the practice of virtue and wisdom connects us to the present. Instead of allowing ourselves to be consumed by regrets of the past or anxieties about the future, we can anchor our actions and thoughts in what truly matters, the here and now. This awareness allows us to live more authentically and meaningfully, making us more resilient to adversity. The application of these Stoic principles in today's world brings tangible benefits. When faced with challenges, instead of reacting automatically, we can pause, reflect, and choose a response that aligns with our values. This approach not only improves our mental health, but also makes us more empathetic and understanding toward others. By cultivating virtue and wisdom, we also ensure that our interactions are more constructive and less conflictual. This creates an environment where collaboration and understanding are prioritized, which in turn can lead to increased personal satisfaction and interpersonal relationships. The practice of virtue allows us to be better friends, colleagues, and family members, as our actions are guided by solid values and a genuine desire to contribute to the happiness of others. Moreover, when we look at difficulties as opportunities for growth, we transform the way we face life's challenges. Each obstacle becomes a chance to exercise our virtue and practice wisdom, shaping us into stronger and more resilient individuals. This shift in mindset, promoted by Stoic teachings, helps us see life in a more positive and proactive way. The teachings of Epictetus and other Stoic philosophers remind us that virtue and wisdom are essential for a fulfilling life. By embracing these principles, we not only become more aware of our choices, but also positively influence those around us. This practice is not just about ourselves, it's about how our actions and attitudes impact the world around us. Therefore, as we look to the present, it is crucial to remember that virtue and wisdom are powerful allies on our journey. They help us face adversity with courage and live more meaningfully. By internalizing these concepts, we can free ourselves from the shackles of the past and the anxieties of the future, embracing the present with gratitude and intention. The constant practice of virtue and wisdom can guide us to a richer life, where every moment is valued and every challenge becomes an opportunity for growth. Thus, by following the teachings of Epictetus, we can truly live the present fully and authentically, making the most of what life has to offer. The practice of emotional detachment is a central concept in Stoicism that can transform the way we live our lives. Throughout history, philosophers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius have taught us that excessive attachment to people, things, or even our own expectations can lead us to unnecessary suffering. Emotional detachment does not mean dehumanizing ourselves or becoming indifferent, but rather understanding that true happiness and inner peace come from within, not from external factors. Imagine you are in a situation of loss. It could be the death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or even the loss of a job. What often happens is that we cling to these experiences, allowing the pain to consume us. However, by practicing emotional detachment, we can learn to accept what we cannot control and thus find calm in the midst of the storm. Instead of fighting against the pain, we can acknowledge it, allow it to exist without letting it define us, and eventually move on. A practical example can be observed in the way we deal with the end of a relationship. It is natural to feel sadness and even anger, but if we allow those emotions to govern our lives, we may lose the ability to see the situation clearly. By detaching our emotions from the situation, we can reflect on what we have learned from that experience, focus on our growth, and perhaps even open ourselves to new beginnings. This type of reflection helps us maintain the perspective that everything in life is temporary and that our emotions, while valid, do not need to dominate us. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from detachment. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reflected on the transience of life and how everything we love can be lost at any moment. He encourages us to value relationships and experiences, but also not to cling to them in a way that causes us suffering. Detachment then becomes a way to keep the mind clear and the heart light, allowing us to navigate life's difficulties with more serenity. Another important aspect of emotional detachment is how it helps us deal with disappointment. When our expectations are not met, the pain can be intense. However, if we learn to detach from the expectations we create, we can approach these situations with a more open mind. For example, instead of expecting a specific project to bring immediate success, we can focus on the effort and learning that come from the process, regardless of the outcome. This type of Stoic mindset allows us to find value in our experiences, regardless of how they unfold. The practice of emotional detachment is not something that happens overnight. It is a continuous exercise. It requires dedication to reprogram our way of thinking and feeling. By becoming aware of our attachments, we can begin to question whether those connections are truly serving us well. This reflection helps us identify what is genuinely important in our lives and what can be left behind. Thus, we can create space for new experiences and relationships that contribute to our personal growth. The teachings of Epictetus also offer us valuable insight into the responsibility we have over our emotional reactions. He reminds us that we cannot control what happens around us, but we can control how we react to those situations. In this sense, emotional detachment becomes a powerful tool to free us from unnecessary suffering. When we learn to separate our emotions from external circumstances, we gain a sense of autonomy and freedom. This freedom allows us to live the present more fully, as we are not constantly bound by expectations or fears about the future. A practical approach that can be adopted to cultivate emotional detachment is the practice of gratitude. When we focus on what we have instead of what we have lost, we change our emotional state. Gratitude helps us see things in a new light and reduces the intensity of our attachments. By recognizing the blessings in our lives, even in difficult times, we come to value the present, allowing emotional detachment to become more natural. This shift in perspective is a fundamental step toward living in a Stoic manner. Additionally, meditation and daily reflection can be effective tools for cultivating detachment. By taking time to sit in silence and contemplate our emotions, we can observe our thoughts without being swept away by them. This practice allows us to understand that our emotions are transient and that we have the capacity to choose how to relate to them. Over time, this practice helps us develop greater emotional resilience. Therefore, emotional detachment is a fundamental practice for truly living in the present. By learning to release our emotional ties, we can embrace life with more freedom and authenticity. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true peace does not reside in the absence of challenges, but in our ability to navigate them with equanimity. By cultivating emotional detachment, we not only find a way to face adversity, but also open space for joy and gratitude in our lives. Thus, as we reflect on emotional detachment, it is important to remember that this practice is not a way to avoid suffering, but rather a means to become more aware of our emotions. By accepting the impermanence of things and recognizing that everything we love can be lost, we find the freedom to fully live in the present without the weight of the past or anxieties about the future. And as Marcus Aurelius taught us, by living with intention and clarity, we can truly experience the beauty of life in every moment. Stoicism teaches us the importance of living in accordance with nature, a fundamental concept that invites us to reflect on our place in the world and how we can act in alignment with the natural order of things. When we talk about living in accordance with nature, we refer to a deep understanding of ourselves, our emotions, and our role in the universe. This involves recognizing that we are part of a larger whole and that our actions and thoughts should be in harmony with this reality. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us that true freedom comes from accepting our human condition. He invites us to see life as a field of learning, where each experience, whether good or bad, serves to shape and teach us. Living in accordance with nature, in this sense, means accepting the limitations we have and understanding that we cannot control everything around us. However, we can control our reactions and choices, and that is what offers us a sense of inner peace. A practical example of how to live in accordance with nature is the acceptance of our role in society. Each of us plays a unique function, and by recognizing this, we can act with integrity. This means that instead of fighting against circumstances or trying to be something we are not, we should embrace who we are and how we can contribute to the common good. When we accept our position and act according to ethical principles, we find a balance that brings us satisfaction and tranquility. In everyday life, this can manifest in small decisions. For example, when facing a challenge at work, we can ask ourselves how we can act justly and rationally without letting our emotions lead us to hasty decisions. This practice of responding thoughtfully, rather than reacting impulsively, is a way of living in accordance with nature. It is a recognition that, even in the face of difficulties, we can choose how to respond, always seeking reason and virtue. Epictetus also teaches us that nature is a source of wisdom. In his meditations, he states that reason is an intrinsic part of human nature. This means that by developing our capacity to think critically and act rationally, we are, in fact, aligning ourselves with our essence. Harmony with nature is not just about accepting what happens to us, but also about cultivating virtue in our lives. When we act with virtue, we are living in accordance with reason, which is our highest nature. Reflecting on the words of the Stoics, we find quotes that resonate deeply with this idea. Marcus Aurelius, for instance, reminds us that living in harmony with nature is living in harmony with reason. This statement challenges us to consider how our lives can be fuller when we connect with what is true and essential. Inner peace is not a state we find outside, but an achievement we reach by aligning ourselves with nature and our deepest values. Moreover, Stoicism teaches us that life is unpredictable and that we often encounter situations that are beyond our control. In the words of Seneca, luck is not something we can control, but our attitude towards it is. This perspective encourages us to focus on what we can truly change, our attitudes and our actions. By accepting that certain things are outside our domain, we can free ourselves from the weight of anxiety and find lasting peace in acceptance. Living in accordance with nature also implies recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we are all part of a larger community, and acting with consideration and respect for those around us is essential. This is reflected in our daily interactions, where we can choose to act with empathy and compassion, recognizing that each person fights their own battles. This connection helps us cultivate a sense of belonging and live more fully. In summary, living in accordance with nature is an invitation to embrace our humanity, act with integrity, and cultivate inner peace. This practice requires a constant commitment to reflection and self-analysis, allowing us to better understand our emotions and reactions. By doing this, we become more aware of how our actions impact the world around us, and consequently, how we can live more meaningfully. Therefore, when we consider the teachings of Epictetus and other Stoic philosophers, we are encouraged to seek a life that reflects our deepest truths, where reason and virtue intertwine. This pursuit is not only a way to face life's challenges, but also a means to find the true essence of what it means to be human. By living in accordance with nature, we not only find inner peace, but also contribute to a fairer and more harmonious world where everyone can thrive. It is this harmony that leads us to a fulfilling life, filled with meaning and purpose. Throughout this video, we explore Stoicism through the teachings of Epictetus, one of the great philosophers of antiquity. He reminded us that true happiness and inner peace come from accepting the present and understanding what we can control. Life is full of challenges and uncertainties, and we often worry about what is beyond our reach. By adopting a Stoic perspective, we learn to focus on what truly matters, our actions, thoughts, and reactions to the circumstances around us. Epictetus teaches us that we should not be swayed by negative emotions, but rather cultivate resilience and serenity. By practicing the distinction between what is under our control and what is not, we can live more consciously and fully. Stoicism invites us to embrace the present moment, to value each experience, and to learn from every challenge. By applying these principles in our daily lives, we can transform our lives, becoming stronger and more balanced. Now, I invite you to reflect on how you can incorporate these Stoic teachings into your routine. How about starting to write down your worries and then identifying which of them are truly under your control? By doing this, you will begin to free yourself from the unnecessary weight of anxiety and frustration. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your comment about your experiences with Stoicism, and share this knowledge with friends who might also benefit. Let's spread this wisdom together. To close, I remind you of a powerful quote from Epictetus. It is not the things that happen to us that disturb us, but rather our opinion about them. May this reflection inspire you to live with more presence and clarity, embracing each moment of your life with gratitude and wisdom. If this message touched you, don't forget to like, comment on what impacted you the most, and share with those who need this reflection. Subscribe to the channel for more content that helps in self-knowledge and the pursuit of a more balanced life. See you in the next video.